What's up, guys? Eric Prey, Focus Fishing Guide Service, Table Rock Fishing Intel. Got another video fishing report for you for Table Rock. It is Tuesday, September 29th. I've been on the water quite a bit this last week, mostly over here on Table Rock as well. Things are changing. Things are definitely changing quick. We got a big cold front come through. Finally got some rain on Sunday. Water temperatures cooled, air temperatures cooled. Things are moving, things are changing. Still a little tough today, only being a couple of days past the front, but I think things are really going to turn on. We're going to get into some better fall fishing here soon. As far as our lake level is concerned, we're at 14.93 today, which puts us about 2 feet below normal summer pool. Core is, beaver's back to normal. We're a couple feet low. Bull Shoals is getting closer and closer every day. The core's really not running a lot of water, especially with these cooler temperatures. They haven't needed to generate as much electricity. They've been on a pattern where they run for about an hour or two every afternoon, and that really seems to be about it. Water temperature is a bigger story. I think last week we were around 78, and this week we're around 74. Here at the mid-lake, fished here today and launched the boat, was seeing about 73. By the time we got off the water around noon, we're looking at about 74. So the water temperature is definitely cooled. It does have the bait moving. It does have the fish moving. So the bites are changing. They are still a little scattered, but the bites are definitely changing, and I really think the bite's going to get better. With that in mind, you guys know that I'm going to harp on Table Rock Fishing Intel quite a bit. Now, in the spring and in the fall are the two times that Table Rock Fishing Intel is one of the most important things you can have if you fish Table Rock. These fish are moving every day. This water temperature continues to drop. Like I said, they're a little scattered right now, but we are starting to find them grouped up here and there. To stay on top of that, to stay with the fish, to know where the fish are going to be this weekend if you're fishing this weekend, or at least have a starting point, it really helps to have something like Table Rock Fishing Intel, where you can get that information every day. We're shooting daily reports. We're getting tournament information. We've got the lake maps. We're just switching over to our fall maps, so now you can really start to see where these fish are going to be here in the fall for the next few months. It gives you a real leg up on your competition. Plus, if you're just coming out fishing for fun, it shortens your learning curve quite a bit. So check out TableRockFishingIntel.com if you haven't already done that. Anyway, if you're coming down, say you're going to fish the lower end of the lake, lower end continues to be the toughest part of the lake. No way around it. The bite is tougher down there. Those fish have seen a lot of baits over the last few months, so that bite is going to be the toughest. Best bites I can tell you right now, you do want to have a topwater tied on. Phil Stone was down there yesterday, and he filed a report. They did catch a few on a popper first thing, but you can catch them on a spook or on a Sammy, whopper, plopper, even some on a buzz bait. The key is finding where the shad are, and most of the shad are starting to move into the creeks. They're not all the way to the backs yet, but they are in them kind of halfway to 3/4 of the way back. That's where they caught the fish on a topwater yesterday, so you definitely want to have a topwater tied on. Swim bait, either the Jack and Jaw swim bait or a Kai-Tak on a Jewel 2.0 is the other way he was catching them, and basically fishing those same fish that were chasing shad up on the surface first thing in the morning. As the sun came up, those fish tend to settle down a little bit, but they were still able to catch them on a swim bait as well. So have a swim bait tied on, and then a football jig. Our football jig bite is really just starting to take off. I've seen some glimpses down there. A couple of days you'll have a really good football jig day, the next day not so much, and a lot of it is wind dependent or cloud dependent, but definitely the Pee Wee football jig or the heavy cover football jig, both from Jewel, have been very effective on those gravel and rock mixed points, catching mostly smallmouth doing that, but you will see some Kentuckys and largemouth mixed in as well. Come here to the mid-lake where I am today. We struggled today. I mean, it was tough. We only caught a couple of fish, one nice keeper and a short, and lost another one in a brush pile, but it's definitely a tougher bite 2 days after a front than it normally is around here. For the most part, we have been catching them on a topwater. I've been doing a little bit better with a plopper or a buzz bait on some of the steeper banks, kind of that pattern we were talking about in the last couple of weeks where you're fishing parallel to the bank and really keying on the shade. That's been my better topwater bite here in the mid-lake and on up the river arms. What we caught, we never had a sniff on that today. What we caught them on today was a peewee football jig. Most of them on gravel mixed with rock points. Generally speaking, when it's post front like it is today, I tend to go search for smallmouth because they tend not to be as affected, or they tend to stay a little bit more aggressive when you have a front come through. So we went and fished for smallmouth for a while, caught a couple doing that and lost another one. Peewee football jig, they were probably 12 to 15 foot deep on gravel mixed with rock main lake points. Lost that other one, is either in a brush pile or a tree, but lost another one later in the day, again gravel mixed with rock, and it was about 12 foot deep on a peewee football jig. So keep that in mind. And then the swim bait bite's been pretty strong here as well. Either the Jack and Jaws or the Kitech on the Jewel 2.0 have been the swim bait of choice. Color doesn't seem to matter as long as it's not something crazy, something shad colored around these schools of shad, especially around the schools of threadfin shad. It's more of a numbers bait. You're going to catch more Kentuckies and the occasional smallmouth on the swim bait right now. And if you're really searching for largemouth, the better bite has been back in the creek arms a little bit further, fishing the steeper banks with either a buzzbait or a whopper plopper or even a jig. Had a good day on Saturday fishing a jig, doing the same thing, just fishing that shade line. Go up into the James, and that's definitely where you want to be throwing a jig. Either the Pro Spider jig from Jewel around the boat docks, around the brush piles on the boat docks, caught several fish doing that last week, or the peewee or the heavy cover football jig on main lake and secondary points, anywhere from about 10 to about 15 foot deep. Basically dragging it. You want those points that are rock mixed with gravel, not just straight gravel and not really just a rock point. Definitely catching fish doing that. And then the topwater bite. Really that buzzbait, whopper plopper shallow bite that we all look for this time of year has been going in the James for about 2 weeks now. It's not been as good as you normally see it. I think a lot of that has to do with how clear the water is. I haven't been back up the James since we got the rain, but I anticipate there being more color up there in the water, and that'll make a difference. So get on those steeper banks, basically paralleling in that stripe of shade that's right up there next to the bank with either a buzzbait or a whopper plopper. Basically throwing it parallel and keeping it as tight to the bank as you can, because most of these fish are very shallow when they're up there. They're trying to stay in that shade, and they're feeding on those green sunfish that are up there. Go up into the White River. Spent some time up the White River last week. I think I had 3 or 4 trips up there, and there's a lot of good bites going on up the White River. You can still catch them on drop shot if you want a drop shot. Most of the drop shot fish I've been catching have been suspended in treetops or suspended around big boat docks. Most of them are in that 25 to 35 where we normally see them, but you're not going to stumble upon great big schools of fish. You're going to find smaller schools of like 6 to 10 fish, and you can usually catch 2 or 3 of them out of them before they give up or before they stop biting. But you can catch them on a Jack and Jaws drop shad up there, drop shotting. Keep that in mind. Better bite is definitely on a football jig, either the peewee football jig or the heavy cover football jig on both main lake and secondary points, gravel mixed with rock. I can't stress that enough. That rock keeps those fish a little bit shallower. It gives them a little bit of shade to hide under, a place to ambush crawdads as they're moving around. Just not catching that many on pure gravel. Pretty much everything is gravel mixed with rock, anywhere from about 10 foot to out to about 15 or 18 foot deep. Seems to be the key depth when you're fishing a football jig. And then that topwater bite that we've been talking about, up shallow. I haven't really gone out and looked for schooling fish. Most of the topwater fish I'm catching, I never see a fish break the surface until they bite the bait I'm throwing, and it's either a buzzbait, a whopper plopper, and I have caught a few on a spook doing it as well. Fishing channel swings, fishing steeper stuff, steep ledgy banks with that stripe of shade. The stripe of shade is critical to get bit, so pay attention to the shade. Wind is not that big of a factor. You can catch them with or without wind doing this, but parallel those banks, keep your bait shallow. Any little nook, any little cranny, any piece of wood, make sure you pay special attention to that, because that seems to be where the better fish are coming from. Guys, we are almost through September, which means fall fishing basically officially kicks off this week. This cooler weather, it's noon. I've still got a hoodie on, so it's definitely cold out or cooler out. It was kind of chilly this morning running across the lake. So these fish are moving, and we're in that transition period. You know, September's always, guys always say September's the worst month to fish table rock. Well, we're about done with September. These fish are moving up. The bite's going to get a lot better. You're going to be able to catch them shallow on a jig, a shaky head, a tube, top water. You know, a lot of the baits we like to fish, where we're not sitting out there staring at our screens for 4, 6, 8 hours a day. We're actually casting and feel like we're fishing. That bite is definitely right around the corner. It's already started, but it will continue to get better as we get closer. The crankbait bite's coming up too. I know a lot of crankbait guys out there kind of chomping at the bit. The spinnerbait bite's coming up too. Using that jeweled gem blade, definitely that's just around the corner. How do you stay on top of that? Table rock fishing intel. You knew I was going to say it again. Check out tablerockfishingintel.com. We're actually going to go out and shoot some video tomorrow, and one of the things I plan on doing is throwing a spinnerbait quite a bit to see if I can get bid on it. So check out Table Rock Fishing Intel, get those daily reports, get those weekly reports, get the maps, get the feature videos, get all the information, tournament results. You'll know more than anybody else who's not a member about fishing Table Rock Lake if you're a member of Table Rock Fishing Intel. So check that out. But guys, if you're coming down thinking about hiring a guide, give me a call. It's Focus Fishing Guide Service. You can reach me at 417-860-4743 or hit my website, focusfishing.com, and either shoot me an email or book online. Either way, I will get back to you as soon as I can. Got a lot of good fishing coming up over the next 2 to 3 months, so you don't, if you're coming down, want to get that, figure out where they're at on the first day, good idea to hire a guide, so give me a call. But guys, thanks for watching the videos. Take a minute to subscribe if you haven't done that already, but thanks for watching. Can't wait to hear from you. We'll see you on the water.